minute, we're going to talk with Marshall Sylver. In fact, if we can get him ready to go, we only have a couple minutes left in this segment, but we can probably start off and then we'll devote the whole next two segments to really deconstructing the mass hypnosis that is happening on television. Because never before has it been easier to hypnotize the masses. There's TVs on it everywhere. They're on in the car dealership. They're on in the waiting room at the hair salon. They're on in the schools. They're on in the malls. They're on in your car. You got one in your pocket. And so if we can talk with Marshall for a minute, I know that you've seen this firsthand. Marshall is with us from Las Vegas. He's a Las Vegas local. I know this was last minute, Marshall. Thanks for popping in and joining me here today.
Yeah, absolutely, Matt. Good to be here. And I'm actually at my beach house down in Southern California. We obviously live in Las Vegas full time, yet when it gets hot in Vegas, we like to escape for a little bit. So you caught me at the beach.
Perfect. Well, it was last minute, and I was just driving in thinking today, and I thought, who better to help me explain how the media and the world that we live in today, and maybe you could just we got about 2 minutes before we go to break, and we're going to spend a whole segment on this, but maybe you can just kind of, tip the iceberg here as to what you see from your perspective as a master hypnotist.
Yeah, as you know, media is the most hypnotic medium there is. You say something enough and people believe it. The challenge right now is we've got such a prevalence of fake news that goes out. And you're 100% right. Fowler is going to do whatever he needs to do to get ratings, which means he makes more money. It's got nothing to do with real, genuine compassion. It's all about ratings. And the challenge is we've got a president that is willing to fall into the BS of the lies. And so a lot of people are upset with that. And regardless of who you are, if you want to be attacked, have an opinion. And so we've got people like Alex Jones and yourself and our own commander-in-chief who are speaking the truth. And the challenge is people don't like to hear the truth because it's inconvenient. You got to deal with the truth. You've got to slowly pick away at all the pieces that are attacking us. So we've got media that has for so long been unquestioned. And we've got somebody at the very top of the entire organization here in this country who's questioning it and saying this is not real, this is fake news, and once all the fake news people, in order to keep their ratings, to keep their money, they've got to make her as real as it's standard tactic to call the person telling the truth a liar, because if you say it enough and enough people want to believe the other truth, that's what they'll believe. Hypnosis is the not.
We're talking with Marshall Sylver. Hold that thought, because we're gonna go dive in deep. We're gonna go real deep into this. I'm having a little trouble with the Skype connection. Maybe we can check that out. We're talking with Marshall Sylver. He's a Las Vegas resident, master hypnotist, and expert in persuasion. He's going to help us deconstruct exactly what's happening with the media that you're watching and how to combat it and protect your brain. Coming up. It's Matt Dubiel from Chicago filling in for Alex Jones. Thanks for tuning in. If you're in Chicago, be sure to tune in at AM 1530, WCKG.com, and FM 102.3. I'm excited to be filling in for Alex, and even more excited to be sharing with you. One of the things I like to do is a few weeks back I had Adam Carolla on, and it was from a pre-recorded interview that I played on InfoWars that allowed the people, you, the fans, to understand and appreciate that there's other people that are in the, maybe Hollywood insiders, maybe successful business people, speakers, leaders, etc., that think like you do. Maybe not 100%. Nobody, agrees on everything. But I think it helps to see and sort of collide worlds. And that's what we're trying to do here. That's what I'm trying to do today in inviting Marshall Sylver on the program here. You can find him at Sylver.com. He's a friend. He's a Facebook friend. Although the last time I saw you in person, Marshall, your wife, I think, was pregnant with the first baby. Now there's 3 of them. And he's joining us live from his beach house. We had a little bit of Skype issues, but I want to talk. Marshall is an example of an expert in hypnosis and persuasion. And I believe that if you really dissect what's going on in the media, that especially an expert like Marshall can sort of pull things out and share with us what exactly is happening. Some examples that come to mind, Marshall, perhaps that the demon tranny that was doing the reading at the school that was recently in the news, or the late night comics, or even CNN and the New York Times. So from your perspective as an expert, what are some of these little tactics, or maybe big tactics, that the media is using to influence the general public?
Well, they're attempting to numb the general public down so that things that are absolutely outrageous and crazy become things that people find acceptable. Since reality is created by validation, the more you validate something, the more real it becomes. That's what's going on. So they want us to be confused. They want us to be disoriented. They want us to not know what is reality and what isn't reality. And in the course of that, they've also dished up a big dose of guilt for anybody that would speak out against it. You know, I was called the day before the election by a friend of mine, and he said, "Who do you think is going to be elected president?" And I said, well, if the election were real, it would clearly be Trump. And even if I didn't have an opinion in the matter, it would be Trump, because he's holding rallies 4 a day. 10,000 people per day are showing up. Hillary's holding a rally, and a couple of hundred people show up once a week. That's the popular vote. I said, although, you know, my own opinion is it's not real, that we're being hoodwinked, and whoever they want to be president, that's who will be president, they being the people with the money. And I was, you know, pleasantly surprised when things didn't turn out the way that they thought it would. And my own personal belief is that they didn't cheat enough. They didn't think Trump had any chance whatsoever, and they didn't cheat enough, and the popular voice was heard. So what's going on in the media is the media, mainstream media, wants us to believe lies. They tell us enough times they think we'll believe it, and they present it in such a way that people that would oppose that thing that they present are vilified and attacked. That's what's going on.
I think you put it masterfully. This is exactly what I was hoping for. So I'm so glad that you're here, because I can't articulate it necessarily the way you do. I just know when I see the picture of the person that is a man dressed as some horned demon reading to children, and then it's put out by the library, and then other people in the echo chamber are like, oh, this is so fantastic. This is great. We're so open-minded. I'm wondering exactly how that works. So that would be the example that you're talking about of normalizing what is abnormal. Is it okay to say that that's abnormal?
Oh, that's 100% abnormal. I have 3 children. I have a 6-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 2-year-old. And that abnormality will never be presented as normal to my kids. Call me closed-minded, call me an evil person. I don't care what you call me. I know what I'm doing. I'm protecting my children. And until more honest, God-loving, and God-fearing people protect their children and just stop going along with the hypnosis of, oh, I've got to agree with things I don't agree with so people will like me. I don't care if I'm liked. I care if my children are safe. I care if my future is safe. That's what I care about. You know, you were chatting a little while ago about all that goes on in Chicago with all the shootings going on. And obviously, I have a home in Las Vegas. And that horrible tragedy is a horrible tragedy. Yet you're 100% right. They won't talk about what's going on in Chicago because the Chicago gun laws are the example of what the left want us to live by, and it's clearly not working. And so you can't tell, you're not going to be able to persuade anybody by showing them examples of what you want not working. So they instead cover it up. They hide the lies. And a lie is a lie, even if it's an omission of truth.
I think you hit on something. We're talking with Marshall Sylver. You could go to Sylver.com and find out what he does. You might have seen him. The first time I saw Marshall Sylver, I believe, was on the Letterman show, and it was many, many years ago. And you know, you might have seen him, and it might not be clicking. That's the Marshall Sylver this is. And today he works with entrepreneurs, and he does speaking events, and he has a family, and he's a normal person, and he's somebody that I've witnessed. In fact, what you were just saying about being a father, I got chills aren't the right word, but I felt that feeling of, yes, what this guy is saying, because I feel the same way. A lot of folks are not blessed to have great fathers in their lives like you are to your children, and like I'd like to think I am to my children. A lot of people didn't have that. In fact, I don't think you had that growing up. How important is that?
You know, parents are the first authority figures in our lives, and the majority of our programming is done by the time we're 7 years old. So if you take a child from the time they're born until they're 7 years old, and you say to that child, you dirty, rotten, good for nothing, you will never amount to anything, you were a mistake, we wish we never had you, you're going to be a drug addict, you're going to be a criminal, you're going to end up dead or in prison, nobody's life is better because you're here, we wish you had never been born. And then that abusive parent is taken out of the picture, it's too late. That human being is scarred for life. So with all the nonsense going on and confusion going on in the world, the one thing that needs to remain constant are your parents, and they need to have their head on straight. They need to have their head on well. And I guess the biggest challenge going on is so many people are begging for, needing approval from other people, that they're afraid to have their own opinion. And, you know, again, whether I'm right or whether I'm wrong, I will have an opinion. And my opinion is there will be no men in the women's restroom while my daughter is in there. There will be nobody who identifies as a woman who's not a woman in that restroom. If you need another restroom, go find another restroom. Make it your own, but keep it separate and stay away from my wife and my daughter.
Amen to that. I agree. You know, it's we live in a time, we're talking with Marshall Sylver, Sylver.com, an expert in persuasion and hypnosis. And I asked Marshall to join us here on infowars.com/show today to specifically address what's happening in the media. And it's systemic of our culture in this. We're afraid to speak out because we're also being conditioned not to speak out. Can you, so if you're a strong parent, and you see something wrong, like I'll give you an example. They're showing CNN student news in the schools here that my children go to, and they show it for about 2 to 3 minutes. It's not produced by the Education Commission or the Department of Education or teachers or anybody. It's produced by CNN. And so when I found out about this, I started looking into it and going into it. Now, I speak up, I'm the lunatic. How have we been conditioned for that to be the case?
You know, I'm going to be speaking at a conference coming up here in Los Angeles with 20,000 people in the arena. Tony Robbins will be there. Susie Orman will be there. Sylvester Stallone will be there on stage. And my challenge is, again, I don't need to be popular. I don't need to be liked. I don't need somebody else's approval. You know, if I tell you the truth and you don't like me short term, yet the knowledge of that truth long term makes your life better, I'm willing to take that risk for you. I'm willing to have you not like me short term, knowing long term your life is going to be better. And the challenge is right now, so many people have this unhealthy need to be loved by everybody. How many friends do I have on Facebook? How many followers are following me? Oh, I better not say the wrong words or I'll lose a follower. Well, then lose a follower. You weren't supposed to be that person's leader or that person's figurehead because you had an opinion different than them. You were just lying and deceiving them. So I think as more and more people give the raw truth, you're going to see a real settling to the bottom of all the dirt and all the crap and a rising to the top of all the cream and the truth and the honest people.
Can you stick with us for another segment, Marshall? I know you're enjoying the day. Is that, can you stick around for a minute?
I would love to.
Okay, great. We're going to talk more with Marshall Sylver. It's Matt Dubiel filling in for Alex Jones from Chicago amidst 59 casualties in September. It's Las Vegas every month in Chicago, and nobody is doing anything about it. We're going to start talking about it every day. 37 deaths in October, and the media isn't telling the tale. They're instead trying to indoctrinate you. Marshall will help us shed some light on that coming up next on The Alex Jones Show. Alex Jones today for the 4th hour. I'm excited. It's one of those things you don't do that often as an adult is get good mail. The mail is typically just bills or garbage. And today I got a package here from InfoWars, and I'm showing the shirt. You can watch the show at infowars.com/show. This is the Don't Tread on Me shirt with the snake eating Hillary Clinton, and on the back it says lock her up. It's pretty cool. I've also got my super blue fluoride free toothpaste. I've never had a cavity. Marshall Sylver also has, and I can say this because I'm comfortable in my masculinity. He has a very nice smile, and I think that's one of his cornerstones. We're talking with Marshall Sylver, and he is a master hypnotist and an expert in persuasion. I want to ask him a question, but I just want to let you know that for a limited time, whether you get the shirt or the toothpaste or any of that stuff, you can go to infowarsstore.com and get 50% off the BioTrue Selenium with auto ship. That's a natural supplement that helps your thyroid. 40% if you just buy it today. So you want to go there, support the program, support Alex, support everything they're doing out there and their operation, and they all appreciate it, and we appreciate it because it keeps the machine running. So Marshall Sylver, I met a few years ago on the event circuit, and he's a very positive guy, and there's a lot of reason behind it, because you have to be positive in life, and you have to also be confident enough in what you believe in. And what we were just talking about is this mass hypnosis in the world where the media leads you to believe that what's wrong is right or what's abnormal is normal, and then any opposition to that false normalcy is also abnormal, and then therefore people are quieted. And I'm wondering if there are any other examples or ways that you can snuff this out that you can share with people while you're with us here today, Marshall.
Yeah, I'll give you a little bit of an insight. Instantaneous hypnosis occurs when, number one, we have an excited imagination. When somebody's brain says, oh no, this thing is going to happen, or oh yes, this thing is going to happen, that's step one. The second element of hypnosis and instantaneous induction is a shock to the nervous system. So a lot of the things that you're seeing are just that, shocks to the nervous system. The final thing is a loss of equilibrium. You take away somebody's balance. So I'm here at the beach house, and we've got a bit of a cliff right in front of the house. If I was standing on the edge of the cliff and I lost my footing and I started to fall, I would reach out to grab anything, even my enemy, if I thought it would slow my plummeting onto the rocks and dying. So that's what's going on right now, is you've got a lot of people who are just desperate to figure out what the truth is and really want to know the truth, no matter how bad it is or whatever it is, so they have something to hold on to. And, you know, we've got people in very bad circumstances. We're coming out of one of the worst economic periods in the history of the United States, short of the Great Depression. And you've got a lot of people that have been in pain for a number of years. You've got a lot of people that have been knocked down, knocked out. You've got marriages and families that have been destroyed. And so you've got people just desperate for any kind of solidity, any kind of foundation. Even if the foundation is foreign, even if the foundation makes zero sense, you've got people that are just begging for what they could call normal, even when the thing that they're calling normal now isn't something that's normal. It's a normal that's being pressed upon us to see just how far mainstream media can go without us calling them out. And again, like I said, shows like Alex Jones shows and InfoWars and places that are willing to be attacked by telling the truth, that's going to be the thing that shakes the tree, gets the bad apple and the bad fruit off the tree, and causes us all to, whether it's convenient or not, at least know the truth we're dealing with, to wake up from the matrix.
This is exactly why I thought it would be a great idea, and I'm so grateful that you were available on short notice. I literally called Marshall, minutes before I'm about to come in to sit in for Alex here from the WCKG studios, and I thought, I just had this feeling like I should be sharing Marshall's knowledge with everybody else, or bringing him to share his knowledge with everybody else, I should say. I would imagine, like when I watch Super Bowl commercials or when I listen to the radio and I experience the things I know about, I see a lot of things and I go like, I know what you should be doing. Why are you doing that sort of thing? And I would imagine that you see a lot of that when it comes to hypnosis and persuasion. And I'm wondering if there are things that you've been noticing that maybe everyone else isn't even picking up on that's going on in the media that we consume in any shape or form.
Yeah, so much of a person's day is consuming screen time, is watching a computer or watching media. And because all of these elements go right to the subconscious mind, the conscious critical factor is set aside. It speaks directly to the subconscious computer. And when it does that, what happens is we accept whatever that thing is as truth. Even if it seems wrong, even if it seems foreign, if we hear it enough, the validation of hearing it so many times, the subconscious mind will just say, okay, I thought it was wrong. It must be right. I'm hearing it from everybody around me. The challenge is, my experience has been, righteous people don't need to yell. And righteous people don't need to scream and get in people's faces and be nasty and mean. They know the truth. So, even though I know the truth, I know what a man is, I know what a woman is, I know, we are all human beings at the end of the day. The challenge is, though, if I go to France, I expect that I'll have to learn French or I'll be at a disadvantage. If I go to Russia, I expect I will have to live in the culture and the standards that is Russia, because that's their culture and their standard. And for some reason, so many people around the world, and in America especially, have decided, you know what, we're going to do what this small group of people over here tells us to do, rather than do what we were built on as a country, and that is to question things that are questionable to us and to not fall into mass hypnosis. It's not difficult to hypnotize people. It's hard to bring them out of the trance they walk around in every single day.
Yeah, I want everybody to think about that. It's not hard to hypnotize people. It's hard to get them out of the trance they're already in. And I see it firsthand, and I see it on people from both sides. I see people repeating the MSN, CNN, ESPN talking points. And then I see the other people that are repeating the Fox News and other set of talking points. And you can clearly figure out which media they're consuming. I want to play a fun little game. I don't know if you've seen this picture. I would assume you might have. There's a picture that's been swirling around the interwebs and I bring this up because in the books that I read and in the people that I'm around, one of the things we hear a lot is you become the average of the 5 people you hang around the most. And that's a lot of the reasons why people grow out of their friendships. It doesn't mean that they don't still love those people. It just means that they want to be around people that are going to help them get to, not help them get there, but they want to be surrounded by the right kind of ideas and attitudes, etc. So there's a picture swirling around the internet of they keep saying it's the last 5 presidents. And it's not, because Ronald Reagan is obviously deceased. But so you got Carter, you got Obama, you got George H.W. Bush, you got George W. Bush, and then you have Bill Clinton. And then you have Lady Gaga behind them. Now, I don't know if you've seen this picture, but you understand what's in it. I'm wondering, what is the message here? And when I think about the 5 people you hang around the most, you become like those people. What does this say about these presidents, this entertainer, from your perspective, in a persuasion? Because this thing is out everywhere.
Yeah. You know, I hadn't seen the picture before, but clearly it's popularity by association is what they're doing. You know, again, the challenge is we are seeing at a rate never experienced in history an exposure of things that most people didn't want to believe are true. You know, I love my country, and I want to go on record by saying I love my country very much. I'm not a fan of my government. There's so many things wrong that are so hurtful to you, to me, to honest tax-paying citizens, that the truth needs to at least be spoken about. You know, if we find ourselves in a bad circumstance, being in denial won't get us out of that circumstance. The pain is we've got to acknowledge I'm here. You know, maybe I gained weight. Maybe I need to take the fat off. Maybe I'm broke and my bank account is below zero. Maybe I'm in a horrible, toxic relationship. The first transition point has to be acknowledging what I call objective reality. And objective reality is a scientific observation of something to say, okay, here is what it is, scientifically, without any emotion, without attaching any meaning to this thing. This is what's going on. And then what you do is back up and say, what would be the best meaning I could attach to this thing? So right now what we've got is we've got a massive push by mainstream media to attack President Trump, to nonstop just belittle him in every single way. You've got a guy that didn't need the job, who took the job, whose life was working just fine before he ran for politics, who is now faced with the horrific task of draining the swamp, of getting rid of all the bad apples and all the people that would make major issues of minor things so that we're not watching which cup actually has the ball underneath it. And so, you know, again, I love people. I love my family. And I realize right now the truths that I speak will impact my children for their entire lifetimes. I was watching a documentary about a woman who murdered her husband and forced the 12-year-old daughter to help bury the body in the backyard. She destroyed that kid's life forever. And that's the kind of hypnosis we've got going on. We've got parents that love their kids that are afraid to say anything.
You hit the nail on the head. That's why I wanted to have you here. We're going to do this again. Thank you, Marshall, for joining us last minute at infowars.com/show. And it's been an honor to fill in for Alex here from Chicago, from WCKG Studios. And we're going to dodge bullets, and we'll talk to you again.